Hey, I'm Ryan Girdusky with Red Alert Politics. I'm here with Patrice Lee from Generation Opportunity. Generation Opportunity just released their 2016 State of the Millennial Report. Patrice, why don't you tell me about it?
Absolutely. So we did this in response to the State of the Union address, where President Obama talks about his successes, right? But as millennials, we helped to elect him, and then we've seen what has happened, which is a lot of broken promises, and we are no better off than before. I mean, what we find here is that 48% of millennials think that the American dream is dead. And this is the first time that so many young people are making less than $25,000 per year. A lot of it, unfortunately, is because of government barriers to opportunity. Government-imposed laws that are keeping us from really chasing after our dreams and becoming everything we can be in this nation. So we put together this report that talks about the statistics, everything from healthcare to employment, but then what are the ways that we can reform policy to remove those barriers and get young people working again.
Right, and you mentioned criminal justice reform, which is part of it. I mean, there's a lot in this booklet. What do you think attracts so many millennials to Bernie Sanders? That maybe they see the government as a chance to create opportunity rather than a detriment to having it.
So, we hear a lot about the system being rigged against poor people.
Yeah.
It's also rigged against millennials, rigged against young people. I mean, when you look at national debt, who's going to be paying for that other than us? Even some of the promises around free health care, free college tuition, that is going to be paid for by us. And so I think some of the idea of cronyism in the system being weighed against the poor people or being weighed against young people resonates. And there is a lot of cronyism there. But the solution is not more government. The solution to higher education and the unaffordability of college right now, it is not more federal money. That's actually the impetus for the rising cost of college. What we actually need is to reduce those barriers. We need to reduce regulation and allow a young person, if they want to go to college, to look at the many options to having post-secondary education that there are. If a young person wants to start a business, what are the regulations that keep them from doing that? If my makeup artist today wants to go off and do her own thing, there's licensure issues that she has to deal with. So occupational licensing regulation is something we need to also tackle.
How do we broadcast that to millennials? Like, how do we sit there and say to millennials, like, it's so hard because so many of the college campuses are organized by leftists, so many of the professors are leftists. How do we sit there and break that barrier? I mean, is it just through GIFs? I mean, GIFs, do we make JPEGs of it? Do we make memes? I mean, there has to be a way for us to sit there and to break that barrier. How do you think it is?
So you touch on social media, and that's an area where we are at Generation Opportunity, we are huge on. We do a lot with memes, for example, but we also tell stories, and stories resonate with young people. They don't just want to know the numbers. They want to see the impact of the person who's been hurt, but then how can we help them? So we're on college campuses every single day, and we look at issues that are kind of entry point issues into what a young person would be felt by. I mean, we all use Uber and Lyft. We maybe stay at an Airbnb.
Right.
What are the regulations in the sharing economy that are keeping a young person from picking up some extra cash that can help pay their tuition? Those are great issues to get them into. Okay, so now I understand regulation here. Where else is the government imposing on me things that are keeping me from chasing my dreams and pursuing opportunity?
Now, Patrice, you're obviously a old, rich, white male, and but so often the narrative is to be a millennial, to be a minority, to be a woman, you have to be a leftist. You mentioned stories. How did you become right of center, or libertarian, or conservative? Was there a moment that defined your journey into that, or were you always, were you born right?
So I'm actually not even from this country, and that's where my story begins.
Really?
I'm from the Caribbean, a very small island called Montserrat.
Okay.
The government owns half of the economy. So there you don't have the opportunity to see social mobility. And unless you're well-connected or wealthy, your family your kids don't get to go to college. So my family made the tough choice to move to the United States, and we've flourished because of that.
Right.
And they've instilled in me personal responsibility. My parents instilled in me working hard. My parents instilled in me that with education you can go really far, but you need to put the work in, and no one's going to give you anything in life. You're skilled, take it and run with it.
Right.
And so that's what I found. Those are the values that I found as a conservative.
And Thomas Sowell, in one of his books, he always said that Caribbean Americans did better than native Black Americans because they had that immigrant drive, basically. Yeah. That's so fascinating. So, through social media, through engaging young people, what do you think the number one or number two issues that young people most care about? If you could get, Marco Rubio or Donald Trump or any of the, or Ted Cruz in a room, what are the two issues they have to address to young people?
Criminal justice reform, and then unemployment.
Okay.
With criminal justice reform, there are 2.3 million people incarcerated in this nation. In the state and federal level, almost a majority of them are young people. So why is it that so many young people are getting arrested? Why is it that everything we do seems to be a crime? That's over-criminalization. Right. And then once you get young people into the system, and they have a record, they get out, they can't find opportunity, whether it's because they want to be a barber and start their own business or get a job. Right. So how do we at the federal and state level address that? And then when it comes to employment, what are the policies that are keeping people from hiring us or allowing us to be able to start our own businesses?
That's so great. Patrice Lee from Generation Opportunity, thank you so much for being here.